Good evening, everybody. I hope that you're doing very well. Please let me know if you can hear me properly. Hello, can you hear me properly? Mr. Idris, Mr. Abdul Momin, Mr. Muhammad Asif, Mr. Sahibzad. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
شاید به خاطر ترساندن شما احتیاج زده باشه.
Dear students, please make sure when you come in, you are mute, then your interference doesn't disturb the class. Okay, there were, before starting the class, there are some issues that I'm going to talk about it, and I hope I will try to repeat the same issues at the end of the class. At the beginning of the class, before I forget about that, I'm going to tell you some issues. First of all, I received some emails about the student asking whether they can extend the due date. No. Please pay attention to this point. Week 8 is our due date. I said it from the beginning of the whole course, so I believe that everybody knows that, and I want you to stick to what we basically arranged at the beginning. And so no, nothing to do with that. You see, this in this level of work, I don't really think 2 remaining chapters is going to really influence your work. I can give you that chance, Mr. Noor, starting to have like basic, like you can simply look at the slide and see how your perception can go through. And then, as I told you, I didn't exactly specify how many chapters. I said you have to apply as much as you can. If you're unable of applying last 2 chapters to your work, that is your choice. But what I'm trying to say is, I give this basically chance. If you can read it through sooner, then you can apply it. So still, week 8 is our due date, and I do believe that you know the basically what would be the penalty if any group is going to be late. Each week it will be 25% of the whole assignment mark. So whatever the whole assessment is all about, you 25% will miss. And after week 10, I would not accept anything. This is how I'm going to arrange it. So please do your best to be on time. Then do not get any deduction. So Mr. Nuristani, I hope that it's understandable and clear. Mr. Nuristani said that we already drafted the framework. It's perfectly fine, but again, you see, there is nothing wrong with the fact that you can read these 2 chapters in advance and basically work on the perception rather than seeing exactly what is happening in the class. But that will be a complementary one when you are discussing the class. Still, you see what, but then definitely, because I know for last 2 chapters you didn't have the lecture, I can consider that as a point. As I told you before, the main reason why we're insisting to have everything up to week 8 is the fact that we are going to have a nice, homogeneous approach or congruent approach to our submissions. Because apparently, based on previous experience, that it was available and it was shared with me and technical team and WWS was trying to mention was there were some groups in previous modules that had that problem. So I don't really want to have that problem here. So do your best to do that. Okay, again, Mr. Nuristani is saying we are doing our project based up to on main idea. Yes, you see, you have 8 chapters already covered. You have like the main theme is there. So if your concern is about last 2 chapters, it can be, as I told you, it can be perfectly fine by you reading that and try to apply it. And I do definitely consider that because you didn't have that lecture, so I'm not going to be very precise about last 2 chapters. But about the rest chapters, we can show the maximum work. So it's about the basic explanation of the assignment. There were some groups that still send me the group members maximum with 1 or 2 students. As I told you, we are looking to have at least 4 to 5 members and at most 6 members. Okay. So please consider this in your shaping the group. When you're shaping the group, that is another fact that you have to pay attention. So please, these 2 points that I told you, deadline as well as the number of students in each group, have to be basically concentrated by all of the groups and make sure that you are not deviating from what it was mentioned in assignment structure that I sent you before. I already received most of the group members of different groups. Thank you so much for sending it to me, those information. Definitely I create my own file and I know which groups. If you are by any chance belong to any group which didn't send any email but through the group leader yet, make sure that you're doing it soon because we are not going to change the deadline for any other groups. All of the groups have to do everything by week 8. So we won't have any exemption for any group or exception for any group, just simply because you have to have a fair and a square approach. This is another point. So I hope that is clear and perfect. So if you have any question, please ask now. If not, we can start our chapter. So Nuristani, anything from you? Do you know when we will have our first semester result? That is actually something that I won't be available to answer you, basically able to answer you, simply just because this is an administrative thing. Sorry that I cannot help you about that. Mr. Muhammad Asif, that is listed in our group. A framework means we are going same as we study gradually. No problem. As I told you, you have to apply as much as possible from the slide. If you believe that you cannot apply last 2 chapters, that's up to you. So make sure that 8 chapters that you're applying, you are in the best possible shape. Okay? So I gave you that basically freedom at the beginning already. So you can have that class by class as you said, no problem. But just make sure whatever you do is perfectly fine if you don't want to attend last 2 chapters. Any other questions? Yes, please, Mr. Javid. You can raise any point if you want. If you want to talk, I can give you a chance to talk. Just raise your hand. If not, you want to write it down, that is also fine. Mr. Javid, are you interested to talk? Okay, please. Yes, Mr. Javid.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Mr. Javid?
I'm very good. Thank you very much. First, thank you very much.
Mr. Javid, unfortunately, I don't have your voice properly.
In the last 2-3 weeks. Do you hear now?
Now much better. Please speak slowly, then there will be no problem.
Okay. Sir, I firstly thank you for the very interesting sessions in the last couple of 3 weeks.
Okay, you're welcome.
Really,
I'm happy that you were happy about the class.
Yeah, thank you very much. We really enjoyed being the lectures being offered by you. There is one point I wanted to raise last week as well, but I couldn't. In the bottom, it says copyright 2010, Person Education Incorporation. I don't know to what extent we can use these chapters for WWS, because the copyright to person education something. This is the point I wanted to, because this may be the point the other rules and regulations. I don't know to what extent other agencies or educational organizations are allowed to use the chapters, to use the materials.
Thank you so much for basically sharing this. You understand? Actually, there was a concern at the beginning as well when we were talking with WWS executive part. We were discussing about this. You see, as a matter of fact, there are lots of PowerPoint slides belong to different type of publishers available in the market. The fact that we have actually the proper, we keep the name and everything there by saying that this is not our PowerPoint slide, and simply say that whatever you're using belong to all of those basically company, is much better than the fact that, because there are some places that what they do is they just simply get rid of all of those information, like for example copyright 2010 Pearson Education and so on incorporation, and just simply put their own name on top. We didn't do that because we are actually using the original PowerPoint slide from this publication. So what happened is, at least you as a student, you know that this PowerPoint slide comes from that original book. So if you're interested, you can go and get the book. Usually most of the publishers are not really concerned about using the PowerPoint slide, as far as at the end of the day you're promoting the book. So what you're doing here, because as far as I'm involved in like real industry, which is higher education industry, and I've been teaching in different universities, international universities so far, and I've seen the uses of PowerPoint slides by different lecturers and also different universities. As far as you keep the main citation and reference saying that this is originally belongs to that book, and you don't change it simply by your name, that is fine. But if there are some slides belong to a certain party, okay, and then that party is basically change the name and claim that this is theirs, that will be a choice. As well, you know, you're now, when you're working with different publishers, you know, in basically what I've seen is when you, as an instructor of the book, whenever you want to use any book, they don't mind sending this PowerPoint and so on, and we simply usually upload them to basically our portal, online learning portal, and so on. So a student, everybody can download it. So there will be no issue, you know, when most of the publishers and most of the companies, they don't mind such a thing happen, there will be no issue as well like having this here. If we don't claim that this is WWS property, as you can see, the information is there. So we are saying that we are using the original PowerPoint slide, which belongs to this book, and who is the owner, which is to that. So there will be no basically invasion of copyright rules and disobeyment. I hope that I could answer your thing. Thank you so much anyway for explaining that. Yeah, you see, first of all, there's no issues. Even if there was any issue, you wouldn't be concerned. I mean, it wouldn't concern you. Let's put it that way. It wouldn't concern you. Don't worry about that, because the technical team is even more sensitive to issues like that. But anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Javid, for bringing such issue up. Thanks a lot. So is there anything else by anybody else who is interested to talk about? If not, we can start the chapter. Okay. So I do believe there is no more questions. So if you allow me, I'm going to start the chapter 4. As you can see, the chapter title is Participative Leadership, Delegation, and Empowerment. It's a very, very interesting topic as well as discussion. So we will have some slides perfectly in detail discussed, and we have some slides that are very detailed and sometimes examples and so on. We won't go very much in detail because we want to discuss more. The learning objective in this chapter will be understanding what research methods have been used to study participative leadership. This is the first thing. The second, basically, learning objective will be understanding the major findings in research on consequences of participative leadership. Again, how participative leadership actually basically help us to get the best result. It's simply like that. The situation in which participative leadership is most likely to be effective will be discussed as well. And understanding the major findings in research on the normative theory of leader decision making. So normative leadership theory will be basically discussed. We have other learning objectives like procedures for effective use of consultation, as well as potential benefit and risk of delegations. You see, when we're talking about participative, delegation, and empowerment are two basic keywords that they come together. So when we are explaining participative, we need to explain delegation of authority as well as empowerment. Okay? And the last two objectives will be when and how to use delegation effectively. So what are the basically occasions that you really need, or when are those occasions that you really need to use delegation? And on the other side, why follower perceptions of empowerment are important. Because you see, empowerment can be simply a competitive advantage for one organization to use the maximum obligation and commitment of employee to get the best thing done. So you really need to make sure that these followers of leadership are perceiving that empowerment in the best way that you mean to. Okay, so this is another issue. So our discussion will be started by talking about how many different varieties of participation we can have. So, okay, so you may have, you see, look at that axis in this shape or figure that we have here, figure 4.1. You see, we have here an axis, and we're talking about 4 different situations, okay, as you can see here. And these different situations shows the basically the different decision procedures that can be done in one organization. So we show it in a continuum form. That's why you can see there is a straight line and all attached together, because in reality it's not like they are detached. You can be somewhere in between of 2 different styles, as you can see somewhere here. That's why it's continuum. Means between these two, for example, autocratic decision and consultation, we have other valuable position as well. Means these positions also have meaning. So, but what are these 4 different varieties of participation? The first one is autocratic decision. Simply when you just make decisions with having least consultation power, or almost 0 consultation with any of your followers or subordinates. Okay, that's why we have it in a very in one part of like if you look at the continuum, it has 2 different limits. One is delegation, one is autocratic decision. So one limit will be autocratic decision, when you have the minimum or almost no consultation. The next step will be consultation by itself. When you start talking to people, but still maybe decisions are going to be centralized by you as a leader. Okay. You have next stage when joint decision comes to the picture, when you have more, definitely more than consultation level, basically collaboration with your followers, and they're going to be more involved in decision making. And the last one, which is the maximum empowerment, or the time that almost subordinates can decide about what they're going to do. So you have the maximum delegation here, means you give them the maximum authority. to decide about what they're going to do. Okay, so at the beginning, as you can see, no influence by others means your decision as leader is going to be finalized all by you, no consultation, nothing. And here you have high influence by others, which means you have the maximum influence from others. Whether you are still involved in decision making or the decision making is going to be completely done by followers, it's all can be different level of delegations. Okay. Delegation is when you invite outsider, right? Outsider, if you mean outside, by outsider means followers, yes. But if you mean out of organization, no. Delegation usually happens inside the organization. When what you have as authority, you pass that power to a lower level. Okay, we call it authority. Yes, delegation of authority. There are two words that all the time come together and shows the maximum participation of leader is followers. Then Ms. Vida Sami says, then who decides in delegation model? As I told you, you may have a skill leader involved as part of the team, or the maximum and everything, or the other limit will be everything is going to be done by employee or followers or subordinates. Let's do it that way. Voting, yeah, one of the ways that you can finalize different decision making with the family will be when you, for example, go for basically for any type of decision making, when you ask everybody's opinion and you try to vote. You can do that way, or you can have different individuals in charge of different things. But usually, if you have a group of people or a team, yes, you have to definitely vote and see what basically option is the one that is going to get the maximum vote. Then that option most probably is going to be the one that's going to choose. So this is the maximum participation. Okay, and you have delegation of authority. So Mr. Balim Rustani is saying that when one delegation go to other country for an issue, what type of delegation is that? I don't really understand your question. What do you mean? You mean if there is any problem between two different countries? You're welcome, Ms. Vida. Okay, Mr. Nurstein again ask. Okay, first of all, we're talking about an organization or a company or a group, a system that is working within. So delegation of authority usually happens during it, under one organization or company. We don't usually look at delegation from interrelation aspect. Means we don't see delegation of authority when two countries are coming to picture. We don't do that. Except you are, for example, part of bigger, for example, economical or political agreement like European Union. Okay, in European Union you have different members, 27 members, and these 27 members definitely when they're gonna make decisions, all gonna be participative and they make the maximum decision, basically collaboration. And it's not like those countries that they are more powerful economically or politically, they're gonna be the ones that they decide about the rest. Definitely it's not gonna be that. But if there is anything wrong within two different countries, delegation of authority is not the right word or the right phrase to define that situation. I hope that I could answer your question, Mr. Nurstein. Okay, let's go for next step. As I told you, we're going to have so many wordy slides here. I'm not going to go in detail because some of them are basically common, and some of them you just can't go and basically go through by yourself and see different examples. But those that they are necessary, as well as in previous session, there were students that they were asking to have more explanation rather than having all of the slides covered. Before studying the chapter, second slide, I can see Mr. Muhammad Asif is saying that most of the time when the workload is increased, at the same time, leader applies decisions, or in a larger area of assignment, delegation is applied. Most countries do not want delegation. Okay, you see, whenever you want to have delegation of authority, you have to look at the type of employees that you have. to be able to get the right way of decision making. For example, if you are in an organization and you're dealing with type X employees, you remember a long time ago we were talking about that in first or second chapter. Type X employees, those that they are not willing to do the job, as well as they are not able to do the job. So if there is any opportunity to not do the job, they are there. So for that type of those type of employees, most probably you really need to apply absolute autocratic decision making. Okay, but you can have type Y employees that they are willing to do the job as well as they are able to do the job. So these employees, they don't really need to be washed out. They don't need to be told what to do. They will do their best to make the best decision possible because they know this is part of their this is part of their job. So it depends what type of people. Another good question, another good example. Let's put it that way. If you look at Iraq, okay, in Saddam Hussein's time, Saddam Hussein was an absolute autocratic or dictator, definitely leader, but maybe Gavin was the best way to handle Iraq. Not to say all of Iraqis were like maybe needed such a thing, no at all, but for a country that has different type of races and different type of ethnicities living, maybe you should have maybe more autocratic approach rather than more participative one. Why in a Scandinavian country or countries in North Europe, the story is different. People tend to have more basically democratic approach and so on. The simple reason is, first of all, it's already understood by people that how this has to be done, and everybody wants to basically do his or her best to collaborate in such a big decision making. So you see, if you look at the nature of democracy, democracy means everybody's opinion has to come to the picture. It means you have the chance to vote, but for that you need to have the proper foundation. If you don't have the proper foundation, even if you go for democracy and then try to have all of this voting and so on, at the end of the day, these type of voting may not work. So that's why in some countries in the world, by the way, they have this democratic approach and they're going to have voting. Still, they may have a group or a regime to come to the power, and they're not going to leave it, and they try to do their best to keep the situation the way that they want it. Okay, so you really need to look at what type of organization you're dealing with, or what type of people, or what type of company you're dealing with. Yeah, Mr. Wasif, it was an example for a country. If you look at the country as a big organization of different people, different, you see, the huge organization of a country means different elements working together under a system, try to achieve certain goals and so on. That can be another good example to see what's going on. I hope that I could explain this properly. Okay, so let's go for the second, the main slide. This is a slide that you want to explain. Consequences of participative leadership. You see, if you have participative leadership, definitely you may have some definitely consequences. But let's see how much of those consequences are going to be positive, how much is going to be negative. And first of all, is there any negative consequences at the end of the day? So if you look at the first box here, we have the decision procedures, meaning different type of decision that you may have. Okay, so as you can see, in each box you have 4 different options. If you look at the second box, we have explanatory process. So the first box is the one that we just explained. Okay, autocratic decisions, consultation, joint decisions, as well as delegation. If you look at the explanatory process, means what is really what is the problem? You see, understanding of a problem, integrative problem solving, identification with solution, and procedural justice are different outcomes when it comes to explanatory process for the same decision process that you have in the first, basically, box. So if you look at the third box, which is potential benefits, like what will be the possible benefits that you get out of any of those decision making? High decision quality, as well as high decision acceptance, high satisfaction, and more skill development. Will be 4 possible potential benefits for these 4 different decision processes. And we have a box here that we can put it as a moderator. Moderator is actually an independent variable that can influence our procedure, as you can see the main procedure which is top, and change the consequences. Okay? So moderator is something that can influence the procedure in a way that if these moderators in any possible way is changing, that result or potential benefit is going to be changed. So what is this moderator here? Importance of decision. These are different type of situational variables that you may have. How important the decision is, okay? That is one of the situational variables that you have to pay attention when you want to choose which decision procedures to go through. So importance of decision is one of them. The second one is distribution of knowledge, how knowledgeable people are, how many different, basically, what is the literacy rate, what is the level of education, and so on. We have goal congruence as well, means how much united goals and objectives do we have as a nation, as an organization, as a company. This is another situational variable that can change this procedures totally. Time pressure is another thing, means how much time we have to make that decision. Sometimes you really want to go for a long decision making everybody involved, but at the end of the day, it's not possible to do so because time is limited. So as a leader, you have to make it as fast as possible done. Okay? Your Mr. Valinurstein is saying that explanatory process, what does it mean? You see, we have different type of decision procedures, and when we say explanatory process means what exactly can be the main reason why we go through that certain decision process. Explanatory process or autocratic decision is most probably understanding of a problem, which is, and then some of them can be applied for other procedures. It's not like the first one goes necessarily to the first one. At the end of the day, these are the most common different explanations that we have to do that decision making. First of all, we have a problem, we want to find out what is that problem. Sometimes we need to have some integrated problem solving because everybody's opinion is important. Sometimes the reason why decision making is happening is because you want to find out a certain solution, okay? And at the end, you may have basically justice as your main objective. So any of these can be the reason why you make any decision, okay? So, but what goes to what, definitely the more participative you are in decision making, the more you're looking for having everybody involved, you're more towards participative, and the more you are forced to make certain decision making without having people involved will be more autocratic. Just imagine, look at the importance of decision. Sometimes importance of decision is really important. So, you know, if you make a decision, a wrong decision, then you will be questioned for sure in future. If by any chance that decision goes wrong, there is a high responsibility at the end of the day. So that's why you tend to have more participative approach or joint decision, because you believe if there are more people involved, so less responsibility for you. That's why in most of the organization, when it comes to very critical decision making, that there are severe consequences. If decision goes wrong, managers and leaders tend to have more participative approach and create meetings and make everybody involved. Okay? Why in decision making is that there are the least possible consequences, or there are less consequences. Managers try to be more autocratic or more self-oriented. Okay? So that would be explanation that we can have. And Mr. Nuristani is still asking us, sir, the topic of the slide is consequences of participative, but all I have got idea from this slide is procedure but no consequence. Okay. Don't be in hurry, Mr. Nuristani. There are more slides coming up in different section of this chapter. We are going to talk about different procedures as well as consequences, as well as benefits, as well as different types. Even guidelines will be discussed and so on. So just be patient. Okay, there is no fire anywhere, so just wait, and we will definitely reach them. Thank you so much anyway by being meticulous about the objective and what we so far covered. Okay, so by explaining this one, an explanation that we have for consequences of participative leadership, if there is no question, we can proceed to the next slide. Okay, if there is any question, please let me know. If not, you have to proceed to the next slide. I do believe okay. Miss Vidasani is asking the potential benefit is exactly the consequences. Okay, you see, you may have positive consequences, you may have negative consequences. So potential benefits are part of the consequences. We may have some negative questions. If you try to answer this as a reply to Mr. Nuristani, it can be justified this way. Yes, potential benefits are part of the consequences. But you may have some negative approaches as well. For example, very simple thing. You see, if you are going to be participative in an environment, okay, that doesn't have that potential, you definitely have negative results. Just imagine you're in a factory in operational level, and you have lots of workers with low level of education, as well as theory X as the main dominant theory, and means they're not really willing to do the job, and they are not even able to do the job properly. So if they don't mind not doing the job whenever it's possible. If you try to be democratic and participative with this type of employee, most probably you will end up having everybody not turning, for example, up for the job, and then you end up having lots of problems. Like there will be lots of absenteeism, there will be lots of inefficiencies, as well as ineffectiveness. But if you are in a higher level of, for example, of management, for example, in senior level management, and as the main CEO of the company, okay, you have the chance of making some decision by yourself or delegating to people, you would not have any problem or any issue like the one that I just told you, simply because those people that they are your followers, they're going to be all different managerial levels, whether operational level or top senior level. So these people are not willing to abuse their authority or empowerment that they have. So later on we will explain authority, delegation of authority, as well as empowerment more, and you will understand. Empowerment is when you give the chance to your employees or your followers or your subordinates to make their decisions, or the decisions that they concern them. Okay? So I hope that I could answer you, Ms. Vida, as well as Mr. Nuristani. The consequences have two sides. Yes, exactly. Positive as well as negative. Thank you. So let's go and see the consequences of participative leadership more in detail and continue with what we just explained. Potential benefits of participations are basically decision quality is the first one, the one that I just explained. So it means the more you participate, the more inputs from different people, so definitely the better choices gonna be on the table, and then at the end you will have your choice out of those possible choices. So definitely will be better decision making. So quality will be there. Decision acceptance. If you have everybody involved or more people involved in decision making, most probably you would have less problem in terms of making them to accept what the decision making is all about, because they believe they have their own touch or they have their own influence on the whole thing. The next will be satisfaction with decision process. When people see their voice comes to decision making and it can be heard by higher level or leader, they will be more satisfied about the whole decision making process, which is another positive benefit or positive consequences of having this participation. And the last one would be development of participant skills. Basically, when you give the chance to your employees to come and make decisions, one of the basic qualified skills that an employee can have, and then later on help the employee to have better mobile or basically upward mobility, which is developing more in terms of managerial skill, will be making them involved in decision making. So they learn how to be participative as well as how to take advantage of this participation. Okay, so these are the basic 4 benefits that you may have. You definitely have your objectives of different participants as well as another factor in the whole participative leadership as well. So how different participants find the decision making, related to them, whether they have the same goal or they have different goals, that they think by participation they may have it fulfilled or satisfied. All can be part of the whole basically participative leadership explanation and discussion. Mr. Nurstein is saying coordination is also important. Definitely, at the end of the day, when you have a participation, the main job of leader then will be more on coordination rather than decision making. You see, we were talking about different managerial functions, if you remember, in first and second chapter, and when we were explaining for different functions of management, one of the functions that management had was leadership. But if you just look at the leadership by itself, leaders that your manager as well, when they are more into less decision making and more participation approach, their main job will be coordination and arrangement of others to be part of the whole thing. So yes, exactly, coordination is going to be really, really important when you have participative approach as your decision making process. Okay. Research on effects of participative leadership. There are different researches about how participative leadership can affect our job, our organization, as well as our company. One of the researches which was done a long time ago, as you can see, 1973, on participation is by Bragg and Andrews. They discussed the effects of participation, and they said there are some limitations in participation research as well. They said measurement problem with survey field research is one of those things that you really need to have. Like, for example, if you have everybody involved, basically the explanation and measurement of problem by itself is really, really important. It means when you're doing that, you have to know exactly what is the problem, how important it is for different, and how you can bring it to metrics. Means you can measure it. Combining intervention means, okay, you see, when you have everybody's voice in, sometimes there are some contradictions. Means maybe person A says something that exactly is going to be rejected by person B. One of the main jobs and problems in participation research is coming up with a mellow approach that can combine both of these interventions in a way that both sides or both parties are still happy about their voice is heard. Okay? Short-term programs are another aspect of the whole participation research. You see, sometimes decision-making process is going to be very short. It's part of the whole thing, and you really have to pay attention to that. So it's not going to be really easy to have that participation done, because you see, you don't really have that much time to go through the proper participative approach. Okay. I can see Mr. Asif Balizadeh is saying that analytical skills are simple, and really, yes. You see, one of the basically skill that you really need as part of decision making in participation decision making is articulation of what you have in your mind. Okay, this is really important. But on the other side, a leader needs to have that analysis as well as other members as well, to analyze what people are saying. Okay, sometimes people have different ideas, but because they don't know how to articulate that, it will be a little bit difficult for the rest of the, for example, crew to understand what exactly that person means by saying that certain combination of words or sentence. So analytical approach and making them practical or bring them as a viable choice is really another important factor. Thank you, Mr. Valizadeh, for pointing to that certain option. Difficulty comparing results across the study is also important. In any participation research that we have, there will be sometimes difficulty in comparison because there are lots of overlap sometimes. There are some contradiction that I just explained for you when you want to combine different type of ideas and so on. So the difficulty in comparing different results can be another important factor, as you can see, as another limitation of participative leadership. Okay, let's now talk about another famous research which was done on leadership, and it was done by Vroom as well as Yeton. Okay, this decision procedure basically categorized leaders to 5 different categories. As you can see, A1, A2, C1, C2, and G2. As you can see, they are all Roman numbering. So A1, what is A1? In this decision-making procedure, leader makes decision without any additional information. If you look at our initial categorization of decision-making by leaders, that is absolute autocratic decision-making, when the leader tends to make all of decisions all by himself. Okay, so we call it A1. Vroom and Yeton, they call this decision-making. Yes. Okay, again, Mr. Valizadeh, see, pay attention. You really need to see what type of organization, what type of environment you're working in. Not all of the companies are Google. Not all of the companies are modern. Not all of the companies have the most literate employees as well as workers. So you really need what type of people you're dealing with. Just imagine you're in a higher education industry. For example, you're in a education industry like that, and then basically you have your own university, or there is a university, whether public or private, and as the leader of or manager of the department or basically faculty, you are dealing with other highly intellectual subordinates and followers that they are all ready to decide, ready to participate. So probably in that organization, A1 is going to be the worst type of leadership, because you don't use your potential, the potentiality that your followers have. But just imagine it can be absolutely vice versa when you are in an organization which is just a manufacturing system. Like, just imagine any of these manufacturing companies, and they make basic product, or maybe even highly technology, maybe high tech type of product, but still they are using basic workers. Okay, like constructive company that they are doing constructions and so on, and you have the basic workers doing the basic construction for you. In this type of organizations, if you want to go participative, definitely it's not going to work. Most probably A1 is the best one. Okay. Yes, Mr. Nuristani, centralized organization or most traditional organizations, they are more in autocratic approach, while the more flattened organizations are more toward participative approach. Because the flatter your organization is, the more team-based your organization is, you have to do participative to be able to survive. Yes, exactly. Institution by institution, Mr. Barizadeh, as well as organization to organization, your choice has to be changed. The example of Iraq, you never forget that. Try to have it in your mind. You see, still some people argue this. Maybe if you look at Iraq now, what is really happening in Iraq, it's not really pleasant. It's still lots of maybe inconsistency in terms of governing the country, as well as not really stable situation. Maybe the system was going on with another autocratic or dictator, the system at least was more acceptable, okay? Less people dying every day, you see, and so on. So you really need to go, not to say that there is something wrong with Iraq, no, not really like that. You have to look at the history of a country, how different people went through different maturity level of social aspects of their life. You see, you may have different maturity level in social aspects of your life. You may have some countries that they went through all of these problems long time ago, so now they reach a level that they have less problems. Or you have some countries or some areas that they are going through this recently, so they have more problems to deal with. Okay, so let's look at the A2, okay, which is the second decision proper. In this procedure, in this type of decision procedure, leaders seek information and make decision alone. Again, decision making is all about the leader by himself, but the main difference here and the previous one is at least leader is open to different opinions. At least leader is listening. It's right that at the end he is the main decision maker, but at least by listening to people he can be influenced. So if there is anything wrong, positive, he can get basically benefit of that. So you see this type of decision procedure is much more participative in comparison with the previous one, but it's still not idealistically participative because the decision maker at the end of the day is the leader by himself. So let's look at the C1. When leader shares problem with others individually and make decision alone. Here you see leader is paying attention to every single individual or follower or subordinates that they may have anything new. But again, what is happening is he is going to be the final decision maker. Again, in comparison with the previous start, a better situation, but it's still not idealistically participating. Okay, let's look at the C2. Leaders share problems with others collectively and make decisions alone. As you can see here, the problem is still going to be shared, but here collectively means we're going to have meeting with every single, all of the meetings, okay, all of the subordinates can come to the meeting, they have their own voice heard, and they can have their own collaboration as well. It means synergy is there. It means everybody can even comment on the rest as well. For example, you may have a subordinate saying something, and immediately another subordinate correcting him or trying to add something to that. But definitely this type of decision making will be much better than the previous one when you have individual different basically perspective coming to the picture while they don't really know what others are talking about. Okay, so C2 is definitely relatively better than C1, but it's still not idealistic. And the last one, which will be more idealistic one, will be G2. Group discusses problem collectively and group makes the decision. As you can see here, we don't have a solo leader here. Leader is already dissolved in the group and is part of the group, so we don't really put the leader as a significant independent variable. We say leader is part of the group. So we may have the leader as one of the decision makers, but we don't have him as the only decision maker or solo decision makers. Okay, so let's see what other students were saying. Mr. Asif Alizadeh was saying that, sir, it is time for praying in Afghanistan. It would be highly appreciated if you have 10 minutes. No problem. As usual, I'm quite lenient about any prayer time, so I can, yes, I can stop the class. Mr. Nuristani, I may answer you very fast. Let me address your question. So, what is reason he is sharing the problem then? In Mr. Nuristani is saying that in which one? In C2 or which one you're saying that? What is the reason why he's sharing? He's sharing to get everybody's opinion, but he decides whether their opinion is important or not. Yes, in C1 and C2, you listen to people, but you decide still which one is understandable, which one is interesting, which one is influential or not. But in G2, people will decide. All of the group members will decide. Very simple. You know, in jury form, when we have a court and jury decides, group decides. But when the judge decides, just one person decides. Okay? It's just telling you who is gonna. Then you see, okay, Mr. Okay, Mr. Nuristani, yes. You see, in C1 and C2, as a leader, you listen to every single individual, and as well as collectively. You see, the collectively one and individual one is collectively everybody knows what others are talking about, so they can influence that talking as well. Individual means they are saying solely to the leader. Leader decides at the end. Collectively, they say all together to leader. Still, leader decides because leader can hear right and wrong and so on, but still he is the one who is going to decide. Just imagine, you see the old style. The king was when you have a monarchy and the king was in charge. And king has usually some consultant, and consultant was giving different individual approaches as well as basically perspective as well as collectively together. But king was the only one at the end to decide. Okay, maybe I missed your explanation, but please tell me why they use the letter A, C, and G. Okay, it has to be more on abbreviation. Actually, as a matter of fact, I cannot recall why they're using A, C, C, but definitely there is a rationale behind that. While you are going through the basically prayer time, I may find it. I can maybe do some simultaneous research. I cannot exactly recall why they use these letters as abbreviation, but it can have a meaning behind that. But it can be, A usually is most probably autocratic, absolute autocratic. C maybe collectively, and G is group. This is what I guess. I'm not sure. I may basically look at a more fundamental thing. So, Mr. Nuristani, if you allow me, let me now announce the break. Yes, announce the prayer time. Yes, everybody, please, if you are interested, those students in Afghanistan, you have 10 minutes for prayer, and after 10 prayer, we will have the rest of the class. Thank you so much. Okay. Oh, unfortunately, I think I finally, when I started the class, still I didn't pause that. Sorry for that, but still, Mr. Nuristani, again, you were meticulous enough again to diagnose. But this is not really, okay, it wasn't a long time, so still, what I was trying to say is, yes, in the last part, which was the part that I just explained for you, yes, the whole thing is all about what are the situations that they can change, basically, how your decision procedure is all about. Okay, so people, agreements, or acceptance on whether it's possible even to go autocratic or not is one of them. We have other 5 as well, and explain all in detail. So if you have any question, please ask me now. If not, we can go to the next slide. Okay, in continue with the same thing, let's talk about decision acceptance, which is the third box that we were discussing. Sorry, the second box that we're discussing. right after moderation and as well as decision procedure. So you see, we have decision procedure, we have different situational, basically independent variable procedures to affect that, and at the end, we will have some decision acceptance as well as decision quality. So what is decision acceptance? Degree of commitment to implement the decision effectively. How much people are going to accept what you decided, this decision acceptance, and definitely it's important based on how much they were involved, how much they see the organization important, or how much they see the importance of the decision making. For example, it's not acceptable for a democratic country to go and choose maybe a president based on some limited people's opinion. Because people will question that. They will say president of a country is one of the most important decisions of the country. It has to be done by bringing everybody's vote to the table. So if there are certain lobbies or certain powers behind the screen and try to influence the whole decision making and put their own present or favorable candidates, that will be a huge question. So people won't accept such a decision making for sure. Decision quality, objective aspects of the decision that affect group performance aside from any effects mediated by decision acceptance. You see, after decision acceptance, the decision quality has to be there as well. This is another basically dependent variable that you have after the decision procedure and basically considering different situational procedures. So how much you're reaching to the goals that the whole decision making was all about or were all about is another part of your basically normative decision model. That means decision quality means if you can come up with a decision that is qualified or simply can reach the level of quality or objective and performance or objective achievement or performance orientation that you were looking for. Okay, so with these two, actually we explain the second box in this basically figure that you can see here, and what remains is the last one, which is unit and team performance, which is by itself a dependent variable on the decision acceptance as well as decision quality. So next model here we have decision rules in Röhm and Yetton decision models. I'm not going to go through this. It's like one of those slides that you can read it by yourself. If you have any question, you can come to me. But this is all about how the whole normative decision models can be. Just I read one of them. You can see number 4, for example. This is one of the shortest ones. When decision acceptance is important and subordinates are unlikely to accept an autocratic decision, then an autocratic decision A1 or A2 is not appropriate because the decision may not be implemented effectively. So like exactly this one, we have other examples as well. They're going to tell you how if different situational analysis, situational procedures are going to be changed, okay, which is exactly this one that we just explained, okay, the situational variables and situational, which is this moderator factor. If these situational variables are going to change, how acceptance as well as quality is going to be there and how they're going to be varied. So please read this for yourself because I want to hit more slides and more maybe more discussions. These different examples, maybe you can read it all by yourself. Mr. Asif is saying that he cannot hear me. Is it like everybody's problem? Hello, please let me know if you can hear. Okay, so everybody can hear. Okay, Mr. Okay. I think then, Mr. Yes, I think this is your problem. Please, yes. Try to make sure that everything is all right with your system because everybody can hear me properly. Still, Mr. Asif, say cannot hear. Mr. This is, I think, your problem. Everybody can hear me properly, so please make sure that maybe you can. So Sal, welcome to the class. Yes, we were looking at Mr. Aussie problem, so I could see your basically message as well. Okay, welcome to class. It's kind of late, but still you can catch up to some certain level. Okay, and continue with the whole Vroom and Jago model, which is another. Continue with the normative decision model. You have another model named Vroom and Jago. So this gentleman again team up with another researcher and came up with another model, and this model by itself has its own explanation and so on. First of all, let's see what is the Vroom and Jago model. Incorporates additional aspects of situation. So you see, all of these decision-making models, they try to complete the previous one and add some new variables as well as different perspectives. So as time passes, you have much more completed theories about decision-making for leadership and so on. So this, as you can see, Vroom and Jago model incorporates additional aspects of the situation. Severe time constraints is one of those subcomponents. Amount of subordinate information, availability of information for subordinate is also important. That is also definitely influence your decision making. And geographical dispersion of subordinate. Sometimes you have a multinational enterprises that has different subordinates all around the world, and this decision is concerning all of them. But the problem is because you cannot have all of them around to make decisions, specifically in traditional form. Now that the problem is solved by having all of this internet-based video conferences, the one that you have it now, that is just a meeting-based chat and so on, that everybody can hear a presenter and then the class that you have now, is almost solving the last problem. But still, severe time constraint and amount of subordinate information can be two significant additional variable to the situation. As you can see, the time was seen in the earliest model, but in the previous model, time wasn't really paid attention by Vroom and Yetton. But here they're going to bring it to the picture as well as information. You see, sometimes you have some subordinates that they are not really aware of lots of the facts, lots of information that you have, and they will end up having, maybe if you want to go participative, they cannot really add any value. So there's no point of going participative, then they don't really have information. Sometimes they have the best information possible because they are working operational level, and you want to make the decisions from operational level. Then in that case, maybe the best idea would be incorporating the decision making. So incorporate additional outcome criteria. They added Vroom and Jago model. They added these two concerns for outcome criteria. They said concern for subordinate development and concern for decision time also can be two different additional outcome criteria. Okay, and they added these exactly again to the previous model when the acceptance and quality of decision making were important. Managers given more choices in setting priorities for the criteria in this model because there are more basically variables that could be seen. And the last one is allows managers to differentiate among 5 choices in describing the situation. You see, 5 choices of the different variables, different situations that you may have. The situation that you may have different type of situation, different type of decision procedure, but when you have more outcome as well as more additional variable, it can help you to be basically more able to find out which procedure or decision procedure is going to be the most suitable one for you. So you see, because you have more variable incorporated, so we can differentiate better because there are more elements to judge the case based on. So that's why the Vroom and Jago model can be a better complementary model to what we had before. Okay, and so definitely better decision making is going to be made by leaders. Look at here, simplified version of what we just explained is here. See decision quality. Okay, whether it's important or not is important. How much is important? You see, you have different level, and you have subordinate acceptance as that has 2 possible choices, not important or assured with autocratic decision, important and not assured with autocratic decision. Whether subordinates are really they can accept any autocratic decision, or they cannot accept two different choices coming out, and on the other side, decision quality by itself can be 5 different choices. For example, it's really important, the quality of decision making, okay, or it's not at all important, okay. Important, but leader has sufficient information, so members share leader's goal, so then the still leader go for autocratic. Here, autocratic, absolutely autocratic, because decision quality is not that much important. Here, important, but leader has, you can see here, autocratic group. If still subordinate accepting decision is acceptable, they can go autocratic. If they are not still okay, by the way, not important, you have to go group. You can see here. You see, for these three choices that at the beginning they have, if still people they don't accept autocratic, you have to go for group, and you can see a consultation. Look at the third one, important, but leader has sufficient information. Members do not share the leader's goal. It's still autocratic. Okay, and if they don't accept autocratic approach, then consultation will be the same, because they don't share the same goal. You just need to consult with them, not go for group decision making. And then we have this important, and the leader lacks essential information. Members share leader goals. You see, leader here doesn't have real good information. So even in the first one, which was autocratic, for the 3 above, it can be considered because leader doesn't have enough information. So it cannot really basically decide. But because, and then on the other side, if they don't accept decision making through autocratic or in consultation, you go for group, which is the even better situation. And the last situation is when the decision quality is important and the leader lacks essential information, and members do not share leaders. So you see, consultation is when they accept autocratic, consultation when even they don't accept. So it means for whether they accept autocratic or not, there is no choice but consultation. Because first of all, supporters or members or followers, they don't share the same thing, so you cannot go through group. And on the other side, leader doesn't have enough information as well, so you cannot go for autocratic. So consultation is the only solution. Okay, so that is another simplified version of normative decision making. Okay, in continue with the Room and Yeton model, we have research on the model and conceptual weaknesses. So let's talk about how many researches that was done. Some support, but more research needed. Some they said that this model can see everything. Mr. Nuristani, for first time, is saying whether it's enough or not for today. It's interesting. You are the one that usually expect more, and now you're asking for that. Let's have more a slide covered, and then we can call it a day. Mr. Nuristani, be more patient. You are a little bit impatient today, Mr. Nuristani. Okay, no problem. Let's go back. I want to cover like maybe 2-3 more slides, and then that will be enough today. You see, this normative decision making in Vernon and Yeton model, there are some other factors that could be actually explained. Basically, they said this research was done, but some they see that still you need to work on more variables and more maybe factors that can influence the whole decision making. And another subcomponent here on research on the model was extended model needs to be tested. So if you want to go for additional one, some researchers they believe that you have to really test it quantitatively and do the proper survey to be able to see whether it's really validated or not. Because you can propose a new model or research, but then you have to make sure that it's validated, because there will be no acceptance for any new model if that model is not validated. Validation means you have to do a quantitative research or qualitative research, and by statistics using research methodology, prove what that you're doing, or what the model that you're basically design or propose can do what you're promising or that can do what it was supposed to do. Conceptual weakness for this basically normative decision model from Vroom and Yeton model will be decision processes are treated as single, discrete, and episode because you are seeing each as different individual or separated decision making. So that maybe is one of the mistakes. Like you don't see it as part of the whole decision making that every single day a leader can do. So you see basically we say if the variables, if situational variables change, for this decision changes. But maybe in reality it's not really like that. You have hundreds of decisions maybe one day or a month, even a month a leader does, and you're highly related to each other. But this model doesn't see these highly dependent decision makings altogether. The model is too complicated as well. Some they believe that it's happening that way, and leaders are assumed to have necessary skills to use the various decision procedures. This is another basically limitation. Means if the leader doesn't have it, really cannot use this model. So some guidelines for participative leadership that you can have in your mind whenever you want to have this leadership. First of all, diagnosing decision situation, what the situation you are dealing with. So remember different situational factors and variables, time limit, how much autocratic it can be, how much people are concerned about the consequences, and all of those things that we discussed. So evaluate how important the decision is, okay, which is one of the important basically situational variables. Identify people with relevant knowledge or expertise. You cannot use everybody in every decision making. You have to use the right people for right decision making. This is what identify people with relevant knowledge means. Evaluate likely cooperation by participants. Means if there is any chance of participant, you have to see who is going to participate and how they're going to participate. No. First, you see, Mr. Understand a good question. No. First of all, you have to know the philosophy of existence of the whole model. Why the whole model was initiated? What are the factors inside? Then after telling you the consequences as well as the weaknesses and so on, there are some guidelines toward how you can implement that. So definitely it cannot be at the beginning. It has to be at the end, considering this fact that you first need to know the philosophy of existence of the model, as well as the pitfalls, the problems, weaknesses, possible solutions, consequences, then how you can use it later on, okay, in real life. If you feel that this is the right one for you, then this is how you do it. Mr. Nisa, you say that the sound is not clear and sometimes you have the sound distracted. Again, I checked it with everybody, and do you have the same problem with Mr. Nisar that Mr. Nisar has? If yes, please let me know. Okay, Mr. Sami say no. Okay, no. As you can see, again, I think that will be just your problem. Please try to find out what is wrong with your system. Because apparently if there was such a thing like that, everybody would mention it sooner. I think then if you had the same problem, Mr. Nisar, in the previous class, most probably there is something wrong with your system. You see, Mr. Harun said the same thing. It can be because of your net speed as well. Yes, internet all the time is one of the main. Actually, very nice. You see, you may not hear my voice properly because there is a situational variable named the internet speed. You see, you may not get the same quality that everybody gets because the situational variable of case, which is internet speed, for you is not all right. It's a very good implementation of what we just explained. So, we do diagnosing at the beginning of the problem in order to find out where the defect is, and according to you, sir, we should do it at the end. No. You got it wrong. So what I was trying to say is, you need to first to know what is the whole model. What is the philosophy behind the whole model? Why we try to have this whole participative leadership as well as normative decision making? Then after knowing the model, knowing the definition as well as description and explanation, you need to know what are the problems and pitfalls, possible consequences, and so on. So knowing all of these things, then you have to have guidelines to be able to implement it in a real practical situation. That's why guidelines usually come at the end. I hope that you now you can understand what I was trying to say. Okay, thank you so much. Let's finalize this. Evaluate likely acceptance without participation. This is another guideline. You see, you have to predict sometimes. Okay, that yes, exactly, Mr. Nuristani. You see, before coming up with the you see, at the end of last chapter of your job, when you do a research or last part of your report, you usually give some guidelines how your research can be used. Okay, so some implementation hints or points. But at the beginning, you explain what is the whole research all about, why it's important to be done, how your research can help, what are the objectives, what are the possible problems, and so on. And then the last part will be how you can make it practical, which is implication of your research. Okay, thank you, sir. And the last one is whether it's feasible to hold a meeting or not. This is the last part of decision situation thing. You see, what I'm trying to say here is, and what the slide is trying to say is, if you want to have the proper participative leadership, sometimes you have to have some evaluation and prediction at the beginning to see whether there is a potential for that participative leadership or not. Okay, and then attempt to do so. Otherwise, you will end up having failure, because without knowing, for example, people are going to accept to do participation or not, or without knowing that feasibility of meeting is there or not. You see, you say that I'm going to have a meeting, but it's not possible. Okay, or anything like that, and you try to have it participated, definitely you will have problems. So let's finalize the whole explanation about this guidelines for participative leadership. This slide, which is encouraging participation. Another important thing when you want to do this participative leadership is encouraging participation. So you see, you really need to inspire your followers as well as your subordinates, as well as whoever is working for you and is going to be part of this decision making, to do this decision making through participative approach. Means encouraging them to express their concern. Okay, you don't have to show any basically, as you remember, we were doing the brainstorming, we were giving the chance to everybody to talk. We wouldn't basically criticize people's opinion, because we wanted to get even the funniest opinion coming up, but sometimes the most irrelevant, seeming so that they are irrelevant options, they're going to be the best ones. Okay, so describe the proposal as tentative, which is tentative enough to make everybody interested to participate. Record ideas and suggestions, what you're doing in brainstorming. Look for ways to build on ideas and suggestions, means you add something to that. For example, somebody says something, you try to complete that. You try to complement that. You try to relate that to something else that somebody else said before. Okay, there are different techniques that you can have. Be tactful in expressing concern about the suggestion. This is really, really important. How much concern you are about any suggestion coming on, and how you want to deal with that. This is another one. Listen to dissenting views without getting defensive. You see, if you start being basically to be defensive, you could probably decrease the chance of everybody telling you more, or even those that they could be a good maybe participator in future to do less, or even they don't do any participation because they're afraid that maybe their decision, or their opinion is going to be questioned as well. So do not even show any defensive approach to even the most dissenting views. Okay, try to utilize suggestion and deal with concern, and as well as show appreciation for suggestion by showing small body language, gesture, facial expression. All can be different ways that you can basically show your appreciation of everybody being part of the whole decision making. So by ending this basically slide, we are going to finalize this chapter. If there is any question, please ask. If not, I'm going to make some points again at the beginning of the class. I had those points, but again, I'm going to announce it for the rest of the class, because at the beginning of the class there are less people involved. Again, I will have it in a very short form. So Mr. Nuristani is asking that like do a research at the beginning, and then the one that I read. Reward the person with good and effective ideas. Definitely. Reward can be just simply by endorsing what you're bringing up as important, for example, factor, or can be through, yes, it can be through any other incentives. Like you say that if your idea is going to go through and it's going to be the one that you want to make decision based on it, so most probably you're going to get something in return. It can be an absolute visible compensation package or anything allowance like for any incentives. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Asif, for complimenting. I really do my best to make it understandable for everybody, and I'm happy that you were satisfied with the class today. I hope that the rest of the class also enjoy the class. This is my ultimate basically purpose for each of this class. So please, if you have any comment or any questions, write it down. I will be happy to answer if there is any. Okay, I can see there is no question. So just one more time, I try to point out the two main concerns that I have. I received some emails from some students having less than 4 to 5 members that I told you before based on assignment structure and my experience at the beginning of semester. We tend to have limited number of groups and better assignments rather than small groups and not highly qualified assignments. So please make sure you have at least 4 to 5 members. One of the basic ways that you can do it is making sure that those that are in the group and they are attending class, you have proper connection and you have the collaboration. Those groups that are still they are with low number of students, while we have other groups with still more numbers. Try to find out each other and try to check whether they need any group members and so on, or anybody can join to them. Please do so. This is for a better result as well as having a better, fair, and square approach. But that will be much easier to compare a group of 4 and 5 to another group of 4 and 5 rather than comparing the same group with a group of 2 members. But definitely they are different quality, different caliber. Mr. Valinursta, I didn't mind explaining all this, but then because we have 10 chapters, I won't be able to focus on this later on. But if you have any question next chapter, basically next week you can ask me. I can explain for you. No problem. But we won't be able to go through all the slides. Okay, I can explain. We can go through the slides. Because that chapter, that session had its own thing. I didn't mind even explaining it today, but you were the one who was concerned about whether we can finish the class or not. So if you're interested, please read it. If you have any questions, please ask me. Very simple. Delegation of authority is the maximum level of participative approach toward decision making. When you delegate your authority to the lower level and make them to decide about what is their fate, actually different decision making. So, but there is a very, very important point. When you delegate authority, it's not just giving them the power of decision making. You are also making them responsible for what is the consequences of that decision making. The delegation of authority comes with the responsibility. So this is another factor. So it's not like you just give the authority to them, but anything goes wrong, you're going to be responsible. So with each decision-making delegation of authority, you will have more responsibility for subordinate. And basically, we will say delegation of authority is the maximum level when you have the maximum empowerment. Another way of saying delegation of authority is empowering your subordinate to decide about their fate, their normal affairs, different daily affairs, as well as long-term, short-term, and so on. When you believe they are ready to do so. As I told you, you don't do it in an area that people are not ready. You don't do it in a company that your staff are not type Y, and so on. So you really need to see the capability as well as potential of the organization or the company that you're dealing with, then doing so. This is just a summarized and concise version of what we have as delegation of authority as well as empowerment. Okay, we have here, you have to go through it. Oh, you have to go through it. Okay, Mr. Wali. As I explained for you that day, when the video will be placed. What do you mean by, Mr. Riyaz, what do you mean by video? It was supposed to be every single session after we record the whole thing, automatically it was supposed to go on YouTube. So I checked first two sessions, I find them all being basically there. First chapter I know for both of the subject, leadership as well as internal marketing, I have them both there. But after that I didn't check. Maybe you can check it now and see what's going on there. And any question or any problem, please check with the technical team in WWS. Okay, Mr. Nuristani said the class of today, sir, the video still not placed, class channel like this. Again, I really don't know what is that procedures, but I do believe at the beginning when I talked to them, it was supposed to be like that. Every single session when we record any of our classes, automatically after finishing the class, this video will be posted on YouTube. This is how the procedure was supposed to be. But if you didn't get it, I really don't know what is the reason. So maybe you can check with WWS, with Mr. Alfred. And Mr. Riyaz is saying class channel like previous semester. I don't exactly know what you're referring to. If you had such a thing before, that could be helpful. Or I mean, if there is any specific channel that you're talking about, please, I mean, explaining more for the rest, maybe they can be helpful. Anyhow, while you're explaining this, let me explain the last point that you need to know besides the number of group members. The last point that you know is, for those that are late in this class, our due date for assignment is week 8. Please do not be late. If I told you, try to apply the maximum number of chapters to your assignment, but still, if you have the deal like Mr. Nuristani and group, to have each chapter being taught and then applying that one by one to your work, last two chapters will be quite optional. So if you think that you don't have the proper perception of those chapters in your assignment, you don't need to do it. But if you do it, you will get additional points for sure, because you've done additional job by reading the slides and then having your perception involved. So this is optional for you. If you do it extra, you may get better results. Okay, that is just additional thing. Week 8 won't be extended. Definitely is the only date, due date that we have. For 1 week you are delayed, 25% of assignment is gone. Another week, 50%. So I'm sure nobody is being entitled. I'm just saying it because it's part of the rules and regulation. And we are not going to accept anything after week 10 for sure. Okay. Mr. Riyaz, you want me to talk with administration of WWS? Can I ask you why you don't want to contact them by yourself? I can ask with them, but then I can ask what's going on, and then let you know next week. That is possible, no problem. but I don't know, maybe you can simultaneously check as well. But I will ask. Don't worry. This is not gonna really. Yeah, this is not gonna be really difficult for me. I will definitely do it. No problem. So, any other questions, gentlemen, about the points that I said as well as the class? If there is any, please ask. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed the class today and it was helpful. We discussed about different approaches and different models. It was interesting in my opinion, and we had so many questions from students, and that made it even more interesting. And all the time, I highly appreciate your basic collaboration, because simply as far as we don't have face-to-face interaction, your collaboration in terms of writing any question or coming up with your own opinion about different things can be very helpful and definitely influence your assessment at the end of the semester. So anyway, thank you so much. I wish you a very good week till next week, and I will see the next students that they're gonna have the next class as well with me, which is tomorrow, and the rest are great weekend. So we are just saying that yes, sir, it has. Yes, exactly. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good night, and see you next week. Thanks a lot. Good night.